What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Miles of Horror, the only channel that will make you scream. I gotta tell you, that will never get old. I love it so much. So before we get into today's topic, if you guys would be so kind to hit that like button, please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. You guys are awesome. We are almost at 300 subscribers. Big milestone. So appreciate all of you guys that have come on this journey with me, hitting that like button, engaging with the comments, sharing with your friends. Keep it up. Let's get to 300 ASAP. So with that being said, let me paint you a picture. Okay. It is Friday, October 9th. I think it was a Friday. The year is 1999. Again, October 9th, 1999. You and your friends are getting ready for a spooky Halloween time sleepover. The pizza is ordered. The Coke is on the table. It is 7:30, and you put on the TV to watch, quite possibly, the scariest children's movie ever made.
Frances McCullend is being framed by the boogeyman. The only one who can help her is an imaginary friend named Larry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So, leave the light on. Keep the door open. And whatever you do, don't look under the bed. Don't miss the Saturday premiere, Saturday, October 9th at 7:30, 6:30 Central on Magical World of Disney.
And if you know, you know, but I am talking about, again, quite possibly, okay, I shit you not, the scariest children's movie of all time. I'm referring to the Disney classic 1999 October 9th release of Don't Look Under the Bed. Now, I have a bootleg VHS list because there was never a true VHS of this made, to my understanding. There was a DVD, but never a VHS, I believe. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure you can only get a boot. Now, I picked this one up from a friend of mine, Tape Girl, on Instagram. So thank you, Megan. I actually do have another one on the way because someone else was doing boots of these that looked a little bit more of an upgrade. So I have another one on the way. But if anyone wants this, I'd be willing to part ways with it. But anyway, Don't Look Under the Bed. And if you know, you know, this was a Disney staple back in the day. Also, just so you guys can see a little bit of the aesthetic on the VHS. Now, I just rewatched this last night for quite possibly the first time in, I don't know, 20 years or so. And I was one of those kids that really watched it when it first came out because I was born in 86. So I was like 12, 13 when this came out. Like, it was right in my wheelhouse. You know, I was in middle school hanging out at night on Fridays, watching spooky stuff during October. Disney Channel, hell yeah. That was like our generation's Netflix. So anyway, Don't Look Under the Bed. Now, just before we, get into what this movie's all about and why it's so good, etc. The premise is pretty awesome, to be honest with you. Weird things start happening in this small town. The main character, Frances Bacon McCausland, is her name. First, I'll give it up for the fact that her middle name is Bacon. Frances Bacon McCausland. So crazy and bizarre things start happening, like an entire pool of gelatin in the school, or she starts seeing the letter B everywhere, and she starts getting visited by this peculiar fellow named Larry. So things start happening with Larry, and you find out a lot, and I'll go into that a little bit, but that's kind of the premise of the movie. Now, a few things you need to understand about this movie is that it was banned. Okay, and it was banned because it was too scary. Real talk. Too many parents complained that this movie was too scary. That is real. Okay, look it up. How insane is that? So, one of the things that probably the biggest thing that I loved about this movie. Okay, now again, I was a child of the 90s, so this was like right in my wheelhouse. The 90s was like notorious as far as children's horror is concerned, the absolute number one trope of kids horror, most notably Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, and all these kids horror movies of the 90s and shows and books, um, essentially weird things start happening to kids. Parents don't believe them. And in turn, the kids feel isolated, alone, and helpless. Now it could happen to one kid or two kids. Now in this movie, it happens to Frances Bacon McCausland and her brother as well. But that trope of like your parents not believing you and feeling isolated and weird things happening, that was like everywhere during the 90s, truly. And what separated this movie from a lot of the other things that followed in that same vein was that this movie was intelligent. This movie was original, and it hits this trope so well and does such a bang up job of it. Okay, it really does. The isolation is real. It is frightening, and the main character, Francis Bacon, has really no choice but to evolve and grow, and it makes for very likable characters. And I want to hit on that again because it is like a wildly original concept. So just to go into a little bit more about the story, Francis is kind of visited by this dude Larry, who's the gentleman with kind of the afro there, and who is kind of has his arm around the redhead, who's Frances Bacon, and her brother. Now, Larry turns out is an imaginary friend, okay, of her brother. And what happens in this movie, in this universe, is that when you forget about imaginary friends, they start to slowly morph into boogeymen. And I gotta tell you, like, one of the reasons why I love this movie so much is because there's body horror. It's like kids' movies with body horror is like my everything, my absolute everything. You know, uh, all the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes with like Metamorphosis. Tell the Vacant Lot is my favorite Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. Tell the Midnight Shift. They're transforming into vampires. All this body horror stuff was what I loved about horror growing up. That's what really got me into horror. Now they show a lot of these scenes where Larry's kind of like slowly transfixing and transforming into a boogeyman, and it's creepy stuff, guys. And so that whole concept is frightening. Okay. The idea that your best friend, your imaginary best friend, could be turning into a boogeyman right behind your back and like come to take you. So the movie is very original and fresh. I'm not going to give away too much more than that. But the movie is 25 years old and it is a Disney movie. So I'm willing to bet most of you have seen it. And if you haven't, definitely go check it out. It doesn't really spoil anything. It's just a fun movie. So the movie is like actually frightening. The boogeyman and Larry, like when they develop into boogeymen, they have like these claws, and like it's very like vampiric and old grandma-y, like clawing at your feet. It's just creepy. The other thing about this movie that makes it so real, so good, is that it tackles real world horrors. It's not just a movie about boogeyman and imaginary friends and that whole concept. Francis's brother had cancer. And that's one of the reasons why he forgot about his imaginary friend Larry, and the reason why Larry is slowly turning into a boogeyman. So it tackles real world issues like cancer, and that is legit. Like, not many children's movies do that, do it effectively, and have this whole children's element that is scary. Like, kids' movies don't do that stuff. They just don't. Like, it's too scary for kids to deal with. This movie did it well. The other thing is this movie feels like a long, good movie, even though it's a kids movie. It's an hour and 40 minutes, and it's good. It's like a good movie. As I mentioned before, the characters are super believable and likable. It's a wildly original concept. When you stop believing in your imaginary friend, they slowly decay into boogeymen. So I just watched this last night again for the first time in probably 20 years, and I just had so much fun with it. I truly think that this might be the scariest children's movie of all time. It's on par with like an Ernest Scared Stupid or something along those lines, which is arguably my favorite, children's horror movie ever. This one, guys, I gotta tell you, I had such a fun time revisiting it on VHS. I'm going to make this a staple. Okay, I'm a little upset I haven't watched it. As I haven't, you know, watched it in so long because it's so good. But immediately when I had the opportunity to get the VHS, I knew I had to have it. So don't look under the bed. If you have any thoughts on this movie, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to talk about this movie because it really caught me off guard again. I loved it. I had so much fun with it, and I can't wait to get my new copy in. If anybody's interested in this, I'll sell it to you super cheap. This is kind of like going to be my 1B copy, so it's totally yours. Plays like a champ. Plays great. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you guys on the flip. Peace.